special edition of Left, Right and Centre on a day when we finally have a verdict and justice for India's braveheart, convicting all 5 accused of the brutal rape and murder of the 23-year-old last December. The judge today called it cold-blooded murder of a defenceless girl. As we look ahead to the sentencing which could take place tomorrow, is the death penalty the only way to get closure in this case? I'm Nidhi Razdan and let's get straight to the top story tonight. It was something that shook all of us, sickened us and led to unprecedented street protests in India. Today, 9 months after the brutal gang rape and assault of a young woman on a Delhi bus, the accused have been convicted. In his 237-page order, the judge of the fast-track court has said the victims were deceitfully lured onto the bus, all the acts premeditated. The judge also convicted the 5th accused, Ram Singh, even though he apparently committed suicide in jail a few months ago.
It was a moment that everybody had been waiting for. A verdict in which all the 4 accused in the Delhi gang rape case were pronounced guilty under 13 sections, including rape and murder.
The court said the act of insertion of rod and pulling out organs cannot be seen as being done only to facilitate rape, but to kill her. Throwing victims out of the bus definitely shows it was done with intention to ensure death. There were no mitigating circumstances for commission of this inhuman and brutal attack. Also, if an accused participated in the incident, the question of who committed the rape or who could not is irrelevant. As soon as the verdict was delivered, Pawan, the 19-year-old fruit seller, broke down, while Vinay, the gym assistant, seemed to be in a state of shock. Akshay, the helper on the bus, seemed unaffected. However, Mukesh, the driver's brother, reportedly said that he would now have to face the consequences of what they had done. The case had caused national outbreak, leading to Parliament finally passing a stricter law.
इनको फांसी के अलावा कुछ नहीं चाहिए, फांसी दिया जाए जिससे कि आगे जनता में संदेश जाए कि इस तरह की जो बर्बरता करेगा वो किसी भी कीमत पर बच नहीं सकता।
अभी जो भी इस तरह के एक्शन हो जाएगी तो उस पर कानून बड़ा तगड़ा कानून किया है, उसे फांसी ही दी जाएगी।
फांसी की सजा होनी चाहिए क्योंकि आरोप इतना जघन्य है और दोनों लोग गैंग रेप के साथ हत्या भी।
It was a shocking incident, very shocking and very painful. And it shook up not only all the residents of Delhi, it shook each one of us. And it automatically shook up the whole country and later on the entire world.
However, the defense lawyers say the verdict is political and they would appeal.
ये फैसला पूरी तरह से राजनीतिक दबाव में सत्ता पक्ष के द्वारा थोपा गया है। ये निर्दोष थे।
The verdict was pronounced ironically right opposite the mall where India's daughter undertook that fatal journey. The parents say they are relieved but will be keeping a very close watch on the quantum of sentencing. The arguments in which will begin on Wednesday, in which all the 4 accused face a minimum sentence of a lifetime. With camera person Divan Singh in New Delhi, I'm Sonal Mehrotra, NDTV.
Well, that sentencing, as Sonal was mentioning there, the arguments begin tomorrow. It's possible the judge could give that sentencing tomorrow itself or maybe a day later, but that's something we'll be keeping a close eye on. And the question everyone is asking is whether giving the accused the death penalty is going to give us closure in this case or sending them to jail for the rest of their lives, which would be the minimum imprisonment that they would get at this point, whether that would be enough. Joining us tonight, the Additional Solicitor General of India, Ms. Indira Jai Singh. Also tonight with us, Vivek Gogia, the Joint Commissioner of Police, Southwestern Range of the Delhi Police, lawyer and activist. Nandita Rao is here with us and we'll be joined by author and columnist Shobha Dey very shortly. Mr. Gogia, I wanted to ask you first. Today is an important day for many reasons. A, because this was a case that everybody focused on, the media focused on, the country focused on in the way that it did, but also because it was a fast-track case and one in which the police has also come in for some praise by the judge today. What has the Delhi police learned from this case, Mr. Gogia?
See, the steps taken in the investigation of case were kind of watershed not only for Delhi police but also for our forensic laboratories and for our hospital and prosecution. And in this case, fast track court has given this judgment come to this day in about 270 days. So it has been a watershed for many organizations in many ways. But at the same time, Delhi police has made serious efforts to imbibe the lessons drawn out of this investigation, as well as the general fallout of the case. I myself have delivered lecture to senior officers on these issues, that what are the various steps we had taken. In this case, for example, we had relied on the odontological, that's the dental forensic examination, wherein experts from Dharwad in Karnataka were also included in conducting this investigation.
Right, so you
and
say,
then we
yes,
have,
go ahead, sir.
And then we have laid up the evidence before the Honorable Court through video conferencing, following all the protocols of Indian Evidence Act, which has been accepted by the court. So various milestones have been achieved in this case to expedite the investigation, as well as for producing sufficient evidence for the court to come to this conclusion. So that is why the court felt it necessary to mention about the
police.
Case.
Various milestones for the Delhi police, but Indira Jai Singh, how do we ensure that this is a trial and a verdict that becomes a benchmark for other cases in this country? There was obviously a lot of media attention on this one, but what about the thousands of other pending rape cases? Can this trial, can this case be that benchmark?
I think that's the only question to ask for the future, and I can only say that one swallow doesn't make a summer, and what we are looking forward to is a summer in which every case is dealt with in the same way. Now, for me, this means that you have to put your money where your mouth is. We just heard from the police to say that the massive effort that was put in to mobilize forensic evidence, the fact that video conferences were conducted all the way from Singapore, the fact that this trial took place on a day-to-day basis, and even that, let me tell you, it was not really day-to-day. The judge was busy in the morning session with other work and was permitted to do this case only after 2 p.m. every day. Now, all this requires huge mobilization of infrastructure, which is expensive. We don't have forensic laboratories in this country sufficient to deal with the cases that we are referring to. Therefore, for me, the answer lies in the question today. I heard the Home Minister speak, I heard the Law Minister speak. But the question that should be asked to both these ministers is, how much money are you willing to put on the line to make this happen for every case?
Okay, that's a very, very important point, and then that brings us to the fundamentals of whether we really have learnt lessons in terms of infrastructure and police reforms. Yes. But let me come to the crux of the question that we're asking tonight. Nandita Rao, everyone's looking now at the sentencing. Is death penalty really going to give us closure in this case?
See, I personally am opposed to death penalty only for the reason that in India, we have a adversarial system where every litigant has to engage a private lawyer. So I have not seen a single case since independence where someone who belongs to a middle class or upper middle class background has ever got a death penalty. Because when you have an ace criminal lawyer who's hobnobbing with judges at parties, who's otherwise got a battery of juniors, who can do a lot for his client, ever getting a death penalty. In fact, in the heinous case where that journalist was murdered in Vasant Kunj, raped and murdered by a former police officer, the Supreme Court reduced his penalty from death penalty to life. So as an activist, I am opposed to death penalty because I feel poor people, because they don't have proper lawyers and a fair trial, they are all getting death penalty when actually they may be innocent. Having said that, if I was wearing a judge's hat, I am not a parliamentarian, neither am I an activist, I am a judge, and the rule of law has to be followed. So if I were a judge in this case, to my mind, this is the most heinous, brutal and terrible case, much more than even a so-called act of terrorism, because here you are not motivated by anything but the lowest of sort of emotion to rape, to brutalize, to hurt an innocent woman who's just going and doing her own thing. So if I were wearing a judge's hat, much against my personal conviction, because the law as it stands says in cases of heinous offences where there's a double offence, rape and murder,
rarest of rare,
I would have given death penalty. Having said that, I think the Parliament should reconsider that where every accused does not have a similar kind of lawyer, every judge doesn't give the same hearing. A Sanjeev Nanda can run over and mow over people and he gets just 5 years, which is lower than the statutory minimum. Why? Because he has Ram Jethmalani appearing for him. So that is the job of the Parliament. But if I am just a sessions judge who's bound by the rule of law, then I should set an example that, well, if you go out of your way to rape a woman in a gang of wolves, then you are going to get death penalty, because this is terrorism against half the population of the country.
But Shobha De, would the death penalty really be a deterrent? The Justice Verma Committee also, while dealing with this issue before the new law was framed by Parliament and by the government, basically said that no, there is no evidence to suggest that the death penalty would actually be a deterrent. Now, why do most of us believe that giving the death penalty would be the right thing to do? Do you think it's the right thing to do?
Well, I think it's a very emotional response because it's an exceptional case. And I must also clarify that I'm anti the death penalty, and the people before me have also specified why they feel that way. This case is not just any other case, and it's become in a way a cause célèbre in our country and overseas. It's the one single case that the world has looked at and has dubbed India, and particularly Delhi, the rape capital of the universe.